Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about this monetization glitch that occurred on YouTube, and we're going to be asking ourselves whether this was really a glitch or whether this was an intentional decision that turned out to be a mistake. Without further ado, let's get into this story. So I first heard of this story from Arthur Rahe, so let's watch what he said because there's something very interesting in the letter that was sent to him and also sent to all these other channels.
So I went to AdSense, YouTube AdSense, and there it is, the letter. This morning I got the letter. Due to war in Ukraine, we will exterminate monetization of content that exploits, dismisses, or condones the war. So I guess it doesn't matter if you dismiss or condone or approve of it, you're not being monetized.
So I think that wording is very important. And also this is a specifically worded letter about basically anything related to the war in Ukraine. But don't get me wrong, it's still basically a canned response, but this canned response specifically mentions the war in Ukraine. It specifically mentions any channels that exploit or dismiss or condone the war. So it doesn't seem to matter, you support Ukraine's stance of being able to defend themselves, or whether you dismiss the war, which means you're supporting Russia and their aggression against their neighbor, or whether you're just exploiting the war. And I don't really even understand that part, because this exploitation is a red herring. There's no exploitation of this, because anything that could be considered exploitation, YouTube would already age restrict, or it would fall afoul of their community guidelines in some way about what people are allowed to show. Now, I will say that these restrictions, it's interesting that these small channels can't do that stuff, and yet you will go and see major channels like BBC, DW, CNN, these big channels, and they'll show dead bodies, sometimes uncensored, and other times they'll show it and it'll just be blurred out. Either way, it's interesting that those channels can get away with that they can show those sorts of things, and that they don't get age restricted and they don't get dropped out of, you see them. I mean, they're showing up. I was seeing a lot of them. So they're not getting hidden and black holed like they would if it was a small creator. And the issue with age restriction is with the algorithm and how it treats the video afterwards, because that means that when a video is demonetized, the algorithm's not going to want to show it as much, because of course YouTube wants to make money on the videos that they're recommending. So these media organizations can seem to break the rules, and it's not a big deal. But the small creators that got hit by this supposed glitch, right? This mistake, whatever you want to call it. Now, I think it was an intentional decision, because based on that wording, right? This was very specific. Based on the wording on the canned letter that they mass sent out to everybody, it was very clear that basically going after all Ukraine war content. But do you think that they were out there demonetizing CNN? Did they demonetize CNN's channel? Did they demonetize BBC? Did they demonetize, DW or Al Jazeera? There's no way they demonetized those major channels. But they're willing to, because again, they're major media organizations. But they did choose to demonetize smaller channels, which are still huge, actually. Like, this is a Denis Davidov, 438,000 subscribers. That's a significantly sized channel. His views normally range, almost up to 1 million. Look, 1 million views, 800,000, 900,000, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. And, he's clear about where he stands on the war, but he doesn't show inappropriate content. He's covering the war, and he's covering it from a Ukrainian perspective, from the perspective of someone who's living through this as a civilian. And I think that's an important aspect to have. That's a part of understanding what's going on. They demonetized The Enforcer, who I also watch. Now, this was interesting because The Enforcer was just right before they got demonetized, they broke the news on the Kerch Bridge being attacked. So let's watch that.
I bring to you all a special news segment. The Kerch Bridge is now on fire in the center span. It appears that it has been hit by Ukrainian arms. We can see that a massive fire has been caused about 10 to 12 spans down from the center arch on the Ukrainian side of the bridge.
That video was posted for only 12 minutes before they picked up on it. And there was not many people who had picked up on this yet. This was basically being communicated in real time. They were breaking the news. It had been posted on Reddit. You were starting to see a couple of posts on Twitter, and you saw no mainstream media press had yet picked this up. But these guys were live at the time and started covering this. And the rest of, you can see the rest of this stream, pretty much the next solid hour was coverage about the bridge, about what was happening, constant updates. They got Operator Starsky on. So this live stream went on for a little longer than normal. Probably, you know, that was about an hour, a little more than an hour in, and I think I bowed out at about 3 hours in and was like, okay, I'm tired. I gotta go to sleep. And they were still covering this at that time. That right there, my friends, is journalism, in my opinion. They weren't on the ground there, but this reminded me of when I was a kid and watching the attack on Baghdad unfold pretty much live on TV with CNN reporting from Baghdad and reporting it. This was kind of akin to that. Like, this was the only channel on YouTube, the only news, right, covering this moment at that time in real time. Mainstream media hadn't picked up on it yet. Another channel that got demonetized was Perun. Now, Perun has 259,000 subscribers. We can go and look at his videos. He has very long format videos, all right? And you can see, even with those long format videos, they're about an hour usually, he's getting, you know, anywhere from, 300 to, almost 600, almost 700,000 views on his videos, all right? And to give you the idea of the kind of quality that what he's actually producing, high-level analysis, but very detailed high-level analysis. And just to give you an idea of the quality, you have this right here. And that was this video about Ukrainian mobilization and fourth generation, featuring General Ben Hodges to provide his analysis as well. I mean, this is a guy who's been on CNN, he's been on DW, he's been on Al Jazeera, Fox. He's hitting all these major channels, major media channels, and he's on Perun's channel because that's the quality, that's the level of quality of actual journalism that's going on here and actual reporting that's going on here from Perun. And for him and his channel to get demonetized is absolutely ridiculous. I just want to address this theory that this was all some sort of computer glitch. Algorithms don't change themselves, and computer glitches don't happen on their own. There is always human intervention. At some point in time, a decision was made by someone to update the algorithm or update something, right? And along with that update came that updated canned letter that we saw that was going to be sent out to any of the channels that met the criteria, this criteria for demonetization. Make note, this wasn't some computer glitch. This was a decision that was made. Now, maybe it was made by someone who didn't have the authorization to make this decision, or maybe they didn't sort of do a dry run test or didn't have a way to do a dry run test to know exactly how many channels would get caught up. But apparently, yes, thousands of channels got caught up in this. I seriously doubt that any of these major media companies got caught up in it. They're probably the ones who kept their monetization, sort of like a whitelist, when you have a list, for example, ad block or stuff like that. You still have certain websites that you may whitelist that are okay to run ads for you, right? And I'm sure that this update came with a whitelist of those that were excluded. Now, can I prove that? No. But the fact that you didn't see any of the major media organizations reporting on this because they weren't impacted, right? It would have been absolutely hilarious to watch CNN or BBC report that their channel had been demonetized on YouTube. But you know what would have happened? Like, the CEO of of friggin' CNN would have been calling up the CEO of YouTube, calling Susan and saying, what the fuck is going on here? Why is our channel demonetized? And then we get this update from Dennis that says, okay, there is some movement. They know the issue. I hope that they will resolve. And you can see that there was a tweet out from YouTube saying, hey, creators, looking into your tweets and reports about monetization being turned off on your videos. We'll share another update soon. So somebody finally noticed and said, okay, this is definitely not normal, right? And then we have another update from Dennis. Channel is being fixed. Many thanks for your support. I guess I reacted too early. No, I don't think you overreacted or reacted too early. You reacted perfectly, right? When this happens, we have to react. Otherwise, it would have just gone on. Like, this is how I see this situation. It's 100%. Somebody did this intentionally. It turned out to be a mistake, but it wasn't done by accident. This was an intentional decision someone took. They turned this on. It demonetized all these channels, and it sent them emails because they cover the war on Ukraine. Basically, they turned off war coverage and disallowed war coverage by any channels. Now, not technically. They didn't technically disallow war coverage. You're still free to post that material. It's just that none of it's going to be monetized. Whereas the stuff by CNN, BBC, DW, Al Jazeera, all those would have still been monetized. All of those, I'm sure, were still monetized. This seems like this was absolutely a end run to try and basically kill small independent creators on the platform. This is colossally stupid for YouTube to do. Colossally stupid for Mama Susan to take this approach. Maybe she didn't approve this. Maybe she didn't know it was happening. But for this to happen and even be allowed to happen while she's the CEO, she needs to get shit straightened out. This is how you lose a company. You can't do shit like this. And keep in mind that, again, nobody is breaking any rules. People weren't getting strikes on their channels. So everything they were doing was allowed by YouTube. YouTube just decided we're not going to monetize any of it anymore. And there's excuse around monetization as people are always like, well, we can't monetize war coverage because, advertisers don't want to have their ads run around war coverage. You know what? I'm going to call bullshit on that. You want to know why? You think CNN doesn't have advertising? This is one of the main things that you're going to see all the time right now on CNN. A lot of war coverage. War coverage, commercial. More war coverage, commercial. More war coverage, commercial. And it's the same thing on all these major networks. So don't tell me that advertisers suddenly don't want to advertise around war coverage. That's a BS excuse. So when people say, well, YouTube can do what it wants around monetization. Yes, they can. But it also means that those channels won't exist for long. They will cease to exist. And they know that. And we know that the algorithm would disfavor their videos then too, because they weren't monetized. So that is another reason why they would cease to exist. It would severely impact their channels. Again, all pointing to the fact that this was intentional, that this was a decision that somebody at YouTube made. Who made it? I don't know. But the fact that it was allowed to occur is deeply disturbing. Team YouTube responded like, oh, this was a glitch and we're fixing it. This was no glitch, people. This was no glitch. This was an intentional decision that turned out to be a mistake. It's likely that this was an attack specifically targeted at independent creators and independent war coverage, which is scary because YouTube is a major platform. I am just saying, though, that this has implications. We should be worried about this, and we should be keeping an eye on YouTube in regards to this. And then we should be acting as well. And so what actions should we be taking? Well, all content creators need to be doing things like, using, if not Patreon, because Patreon also has issues with stifling opinions, and the same issue that PayPal recently had about how they want to stifle information. They basically want to be able to say what you're allowed to talk about. That's what this all boils down to. So you know, we got to go out to other content platforms, Rumble, Odyssey, Locals, you know, instead of just relying on YouTube and Patreon, to get our voices out there and ensure that access to this information is available to as wide an audience as possible. That's just my thoughts on this whole, on these shenanigans. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? You think this is just a computer glitch? Or do you think this was YouTube getting caught out with their pants down because they made a major move and everybody called them out on it? And good for you for the people who did. If you want to continue to support the channel and smash a narrative, then you need to smash that like, share, and subscribe button. I'm a small channel. I just try to get my voice out there. And we're pushing for 1,000 subscribers. We're currently sitting just a little bit less than 600. So if you want to help out this channel immensely, a single subscription can make a huge difference for me. So if you're enjoying the content, please do subscribe. That's all I have for now, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.